दीपक बाबू, गुड मॉर्निंग।
गुड मॉर्निंग कुलविंदर।
कहाँ कहाँ किस किस सिटीज में हम लोग मिले हैं, अलग अलग इंस्टेंसेस में मिले हैं, थैंक्स टू अदर रेफरेंसेस मिले हैं इनफैक्ट। बट मैं आपकी सिटी में बैठा हूँ, आप अपनी सिटी में नहीं हो। मैं आपको मिला था बॉम्बे में
12 साल पहले, 14 साल पहले।
करीब, ऑलमोस्ट करेक्ट। और जपैक के ऑफिस में, जो जनता अभी सुन रही है उनको पता भी नहीं होगा जपैक क्या है।
हम उस जमाने में गेम कर रहे थे जब इंडिया में शायद 500,000 गेमर्स भी नहीं थे।
हाँ मतलब जपैक, मतलब एवरीबॉडी न्यू। हम लोग बच्चे थे उस टाइम पे, तो हम लोग को पता था कि जपैक नाम की चीज है, लेकिन बाकी सबको लगता है क्या टाइम वेस्ट है।
देखो,
और क्या
उस टाइम ना एंड्रॉयड था ना iOS था। मोबाइल फोन वो जावा वाले फोन होते थे। और ब्राउजर में फ्लैश होता था। आई डोंट नो कितने लोगों को मालूम है कि
फ्लैश
फ्लैश,
नाम की चीज,
मैक्रोमीडिया फ्लैश नाम की क्या चीज है।
मूवी नहीं भाई, मूवी नहीं फ्लैश।
तो वो उस जमाने में गेम बनाते थे। तो जब 1 लाख लोग आ जाते थे वेबसाइट पे तो लगता था कि बॉस हम यूनिकॉर्न बन गए हैं। तो अब यूनिकॉर्न की डेफिनेशन ही बदल गई है। अब तो 100 मिलियन चाहिए। 100 मिलियन का एमएयू हो तो लगता है कि हाँ, कि आपके पास
आप कुछ
ट्रैफिक
बात कर रहे हैं। करेक्ट करेक्ट करेक्ट। सो जनता, ये जो दीपक हैं, ये इनकी कहानी बहुत पुरानी है। मोस्टली शायद कुछ सम ऑफ यू वुड नॉट हैव बीन बोर्न जब इनकी थोड़ी स्टार्टअप की कहानी और अपनी करियर की कहानी शुरू हुई थी। एंड जपैक से भी पहले इनका पहला जर्नी हुई थी सीडी, क्या नाम था, सीडी रोम, सीडी एंड
इंटरनेशनल। तो 1998 में जुनून चढ़ा कि हम बिजनेस करेंगे। तब स्टार्टअप वर्ड नहीं होता था, राइट?
हाँ,
एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप कुछ नहीं होता था। बिजनेसमैन बनेंगे,
धंधा करेंगे।
धंधा करेंगे, बिजनेसमैन बनेंगे। मुझे बिजनेस करना है। मेरी जॉब, मेरी फैमिली में सब जॉब करते थे कि नहीं मैं बिजनेस करूंगा। बिजनेस से सुना था कि बहुत पैसा बनता
हाँ
है, राइट? तो
हाँ।
पैसा कमाना। बट शौक शुरू से टेक्नोलॉजी का था, जो भी मतलब कंप्यूटर्स का था। तो इसी में कुछ करेंगे। तो सीडी रॉम इंटरनेशनल नाम की मैंने कंपनी खोली एंड गेम सीडीज बेचेंगे इंपोर्ट करके, ऑनलाइन बेचेंगे दुकान में।
सीडीज, सीडीज बता दो, सीडीज क्या होती है?
ओ सीडी, कॉम्पैक्ट गोल गोल जो चीज होती है, इसमें गेम्स होती थी। तो उस जमाने में हम इंपोर्ट करते थे। इंडिया में तो कुछ मिलता नहीं था। हम
करेक्ट।
बट ये था कि हम ऑनलाइन बेचेंगे। ई कॉमर्स, मैंने वर्ड सुना, ई कॉमर्स 1997 98 में कि यूएस में बहुत सी कुछ तो नई टेक्नोलॉजी आई है ई कॉमर्स। जैसे भी हम एक्साइट हो जाते हैं ना नए नए कीवर्ड्स को लेके, Web3
हाँ हाँ
एंड
हाँ।
जनरेटिव एआई। उस जमाने का जो
करेक्ट
बज़वर्ड था वो ई कॉमर्स था। तो हम भी
करेक्ट।
करेंगे। हम भी हमारे पास भी कंप्यूटर है, हम भी कर सकते हैं।
हम भी
ठीक है,
कर सकते
हमने हमने जॉब छोड़ दी। मैंने बाय द वे फर्स्ट जॉब स्टार्ट करी थी 1997 में।
हैं। ओके।
वहां पर मैं गेम्स की टेस्टिंग करता था। तो वहीं से आइडिया आया, गेम्स इंपोर्ट होती हैं, कहाँ से इंपोर्ट होती हैं, कौन कस्टमर्स हैं, लोगों को
गॉट इट।
क्या क्या चाहिए। तो 99 में छोड़ दिया कि बॉस नौकरी नहीं करेंगे।
ठीक है।
तो आइडिया ये था कि ऑनलाइन वेबसाइट बनाई, खुद बनाई, बहुत ही मतलब सिंपल सी। और वहां पे डाल दी 10 सीडीज, इंपोर्ट भी कर ली। 10 सीडीज के
हाँ,
50-50 यूनिट, तो 500। मुझे शायद याद है कि उस टाइम 2-2.5 लाख रुपए लगे थे। मैंने अपनी सारी जितने पैसे थे लोन वोन ले,
सारी सेविंग्स लगा दी।
2 लाख। मैं 98 की बात कर रहा हूँ, 99 की।
सीरियसली? हाँ, 2 लाख रुपए मतलब बहुत होते हैं।
और इंपोर्ट का लाइसेंस लिया, पहले इंपोर्ट करी, सारा कुछ आ गया सामान। एक छोटा सा रेंट पे ऑफिस लिया, छोटा सा ही था, एक कमरा था। वेबसाइट बना दी। और वेबसाइट में उस टाइम पेमेंट गेटवे तो खुला नहीं था।
हमें वो
तो
पूछने वाला था।
और कैश ऑन डिलीवरी तो पता ही नहीं था क्या होता है। वो इतना रिस्क, मतलब कैश ऑन डिलीवरी एज अ कॉन्सेप्ट डिडंट एग्जिस्ट कि आप किसी को पैसे सामान भेज दो और पैसे वो आपको डोर पे देगा। मैं कहा नहीं, ये तो मतलब
करेक्ट।
पता ही नहीं था क्या होता है।
For
सो द
those who
आइडिया।
don't, and sorry, for those who don't know, cash on delivery was invented by Flipkart 10 साल के बाद। 2008 या 9 में जाके फ्लिपकार्ट ने इन्वेंट किया था कैश ऑन डिलीवरी इंडिया में।
तो तो हमने कहा अच्छा ठीक है, तो पेमेंट कैसे लेंगे? तो फिर एक बड़ा उस टाइम कॉन्सेप्ट होता था जो ऑफलाइन चलता था, मेल ऑर्डर। कि
हाँ
आप सबसे पहले चेक भेज दो, हम
हाँ
चेक को एनकैश करेंगे, पैसे मेरे पास आ जाएंगे और फिर मैं आपको सीडी भेजूंगा। नाउ इमेजिन, लेट्स से थियोरेटिकली स्पीकिंग, आपने एक सीडी आई मेरे वेबसाइट पे, ऐड टू कार्ट किया, सिलेक्ट करा, चेकआउट करा, ऑर्डर करा। अब आप उसका प्रिंट आउट लोगे। 990 रुपए की सीडी है, आप उसका चेक बनाओगे। मुझे वो प्रिंट,
हाँ
990 का चेक कोरियर करोगे, जो 4 दिन बाद 5 दिन बाद आएगा। तब पहले कोरियर भी स्लो होता, इंडिया पोस्ट जो भी होता था।
हाँ।
फिर मैं चेक बैंक में डालूंगा, वो आउट स्टेशन चेक होगा तो 6-7 दिन लगेंगे। यूपीआई तो मतलब 6-7 दिन में चेक क्लियर होगा, फिर कैश आ गया, अब मेरे पास हाँ ठीक है अब पैसा आ गया, अब मैं सीडी शिप करूंगा, वो 5 दिन पहुंचेगी। तो 16-17 दिन में द डे यू डिसाइड मुझे खरीदनी है आपको मिल जाती थी। हमने और बहुत अच्छा कॉन्सेप्ट है, मतलब घर बैठे
and that would be considered fast.
Yes. But the only thing we didn't realize होता है ना कि यार कस्टमर को क्या चाहिए वो तो कभी पूछा ही नहीं, हमें क्या चाहिए हमें मालूम है। तो कस्टमर जिसको गेम खेलनी है, बच्चा जो आके जो बच्चा 18-19 साल का जो 990 रुपए खर्च रहा है, बाय द वे 1999 में 990 की सीडीज लाइक टॉप 0.01%, राइट, जो एकदम ही ओवर, उसको जिसको सीडी चाहिए उसको आज चाहिए, जिसको गेम खेलनी है उसको आज खेलनी है। सो वो जाएगा हर सिटी में, कोई नेहरू प्लेस होगा, कोई पालिका बाजार होगा, वहां जाके सीडी खरीद के ले आएगा, वो 15 दिन आएगा। तो हम बैठ गए ऐसे कंप्यूटर के सामने रोज, चलो अब कस्टम ट्रैफिक आएंगे, धीरे धीरे वो फ्री एड्स करी, क्लासिफाइड्स करी, प्रिंटर, वो बहुत सारी छोटी छोटी चीजें करी। आई थिंक 3 महीने हो गए, हमें एक ऑर्डर नहीं आया, एक भी ऑर्डर नहीं आया, 0। एंड दैट्स व्हेन मेरे साथ एक और एम्प्लॉय था, हमने बोला बॉस आई थिंक गलती हो गई थोड़ी सी, तो सीडीज डाली डब्बे में, नेहरू प्लेस में गए, नेहरू प्लेस में आई स्टिल रिमेंबर दी शॉप, एक ट्रिफिन टेक्नोलॉजीज था, उसके पास ले गए, सर ये सीडीज पड़ी है हमारे पास, ब्रांड न्यू पैक, आप ले लो। तो स्मार्ट था, वो बहुत बड़ा डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर था उस टाइम सीडीज का, तो कह रहे हैं अच्छा ये तो यार चलती नहीं है सीडी जो तुम लाए हो, मैं 1 लाख में ले लूंगा। मैं कहा भाई 2 लाख का सामान है, एटलीस्ट 2 लाख तो दे दे। कह रहे नहीं भाई हमारी मजबूरी है, तुम बेचने आए हो, मैं ऐसे लेता नहीं हूँ, क्योंकि मुझे नहीं मालूम ये नकली है, पायरेटेड है, क्या है, जबकि उसे मालूम था ओरिजिनल है, उसे क्लियरली मालूम है। तो उसने हमें 1 लाख रुपए दिए, तो 1 लाख हमने लॉस बुक किया अपनी लाइफ का पहला, और मैंने भैया नौकरी करेंगे। देन आई जॉइन टाइम्स इंटरनेट की, बहुत अब थोड़े दिन पैसे कमाएंगे, बहुत पैसे गवा दिए, टू अर्ली इन माय लाइफ, आई वाज 19 देन। तो बस ये स्टार्ट हुई थी मेरी फर्स्ट सो कॉल्ड स्टार्टअप जर्नी। बट हिम्मत नहीं हुई कम से कम 20 साल तक की दोबारा स्टार्टअप करें, 3 साल पहले दोबारा हिम्मत हुई।
मैं वही बता कि Zoom 2 मतलब 20 साल लग गए वो 1 लाख का लॉस को, ट्रॉमा को निकालने में, है ना। I remember
the learning we had was, even though it was too early, क्या learnings होती है 3 महीने में, क्या learning, एक तो जिस सेगमेंट में आप काम कर रहे हो, आपको क्या चाहिए सबको मालूम है, मेरे को ये करना है, मुझे ऐसा करना है। The only thing that holds true even today, what does a customer want, right? That never changes, right? Because if you don't know what customers want, you will build stuff and then nobody's gonna buy it. So that is the only learning we carried, that the mistake that we did. We could have done in hindsight, we could have done a game review website, game cheat codes and game,
बहुत कुछ और कर सकते थे, correct.
Visuals and photos and videos. We could have done a lot of things then. Technology existed back then also. But
correct.
went to a category which was not what our customers wanted. So yeah, that's the learning which not only in startup, every job that you do, you start from there, right? That are you building for? Who are you building for? Right? So,
correct. Zooming to your current thing, because मुझे बीच की 20 साल की जर्नी है वो तो मुझे बात करनी है, और जो पेटीएम का कहानी which got you popular and etc. We'll talk about that. But zoom to your next stint, जो कि IndiaGold। एक तो नाम बड़ा आपने चुन के लिया है, like बहुत सोच के, भारत पे के बाद IndiaGold।
So I think नाम के पीछे तो कोई स्टोरी है नहीं, बट कंपनी का नाम कंपनी के नाम के पीछे, बाय द वे कंपनी का नाम इज नॉट IndiaGold, कंपनी का नाम है फ्लैट वाइट कैपिटल, राइट?
फ्लैट वाइट,
हाँ। तो वो नाम ऐसे है, हम बैठे, मैं और नितिन माई को फाउंडर, हम कॉफी पी रहे थे और हम फ्लैट वाइट ही पी रहे थे। तो हमारे जो उसने पूछा, जो हमारी कंपनी सेटअप कर रहा था, कि सर नाम क्या रखूं, हमें क्या नाम रखें यार, चलो ऐसा करते हैं फ्लैट वाइट कैपिटल रख देते, लिटरली बिकॉज़ वी वर ड्रिंकिंग दैट। तो ऐसा रैंडम था, कोई कहानी नहीं थी इसके पीछे। अच्छा ब्रांड का नाम क्या रखें? सो ब्रांड में ये था कि ऑब्वियसली गोल्ड आना चाहिए, बिकॉज यू वांट टू बी वेरी स्ट्रांगली एसोसिएटेड विद गोल्ड। एंड देन भारत गोल्ड, ये भारत नाम वाज वेरी पॉपुलर बैक देन, 4-5 साल पहले सब भारत लगा रहे थे। तो इसी को भारत वर्ड बहुत पसंद है। somehow उनको लगता है कि भारत इज there's a story around भारत। तो I personally don't like that word। ऐसा कुछ भारत और इंडिया, there is nothing like that यार। हमारा देश है, देश के अंदर 25 तरह के अलग-अलग
हर तरह के लोग हैं, करेक्ट,
हर तरह के लोग हैं, आपको उसके लिए बनाना है। there's no यार, दिल्ली जैसे शहर में, within Delhi there are all kinds of Indias,
correct।
starting
सब कुछ वहीं
from
पर है.
people who don't earn to people who earn less than 10,000, people who earn in crores. There are colonies where you sell different kind of products. There are uber rich, there are ultra poor, there are people who come from villages, people who can't read. There are all kinds of people.
Correct.
So you in Delhi, literally, if you want to find your segment, whatever product you're building in, you will actually have enough number of people, right? The beauty of India is that any product that you build, you get good enough segment, right? आप जितना मर्जी उसको slice and dice करोगे, you still get a large enough base, right? That's why I really find it surprising when new startups, when they pitch, they talk about 200 million customers, 300 million customers, the TAM, right? I mean, that's building a product which 200-300 million people will like is not going to be that easy, especially considering that all Indian startups are doing is solving Indian problem. I'm not talking about social networks and messengers,
correct.
Everyone has a common thread here. All the reason why Indian startups get funded and they are insanely valued, because India has very peculiar problems, and if you're trying to solve a problem, it's very difficult to solve problems for 250-300 million because they'll have 20 different problems. When you start with one problem, one segment, and then obviously grow. Once you become bigger, we've seen that in Paytm, we started with recharge, right? And then you start building.
Correct.
But day one pay, someone pitching the TAM as 300 million, you discover the TAM as you go along. I don't remember any time Vijay Shekhar Sharma pitching to investors, even back then, that the TAM is going to be 300-400 million. You used to talk about people who do recharge offline, and since the internet population is X%, some of them would move online, and very small percentage of that would do recharge online, even while they are online, but not everyone will do recharge online, and then slowly it will grow, and then we'll build use cases. So TAM is overrated, especially in India, because
this what you just casually remarked is actually a very interesting nugget of how Paytm would अभी तो जो new generation अभी आई है in the last 4-5 years, उनके लिए तो Paytm is like internet, right? It has always existed, but I know कि Paytm शुरू कहाँ से हुआ था, कैसे शुरू हुआ था, क्या हुआ था, and how it was pretty much ignored and not rejected, but it was like हाँ ठीक है another चल रहा है कुछ, right? But gradually how
unique नहीं था, ऐसा नहीं था कि oh wow, this some new category has been created, because Paytm, there were other recharge players as well.
Exactly.
But the only thing Vijay did was I need to offer superlative user experience, good customer service for a product which is not differentiated. आप दुकान same recharge आपको सब जगह मिलता है. It's like air tickets, right? Correct. किसी और क्या है, आप सिर्फ reseller हो, आप बेच रहे हो. The only thing that when someone comes to you, they feel that yes, एक तो मेरा अगर कभी issue आया तो customer service will take care of me, and interact with the website. तब app नहीं होता था. I feel whatever little speeds that we had in the internet those days, it's very efficient. You don't need to have heavy images, and Paytm was very, very light back then. We used to take pride that even in 30 kbps, 50 kbps connection, you're able to recharge. And we talk about kbps, by the way. People,
30 kbps was the internet speed, and this is not too long back. This is 2010. 2010 से लेकर 2013 के बाद की बात है, 10-12 साल पहले ये हाल था. So, like the speed at which India has grown in the last decade or so is beyond anybody's expectations, of course. तो इंडिया गोल्ड की हमने कहानी शुरू की थी, जहाँ से हम लोग यहाँ पहुँच गए. मैं इंडिया गोल्ड को पार्क करता हूँ. Let's go to Paytm की journey, because you have been associated with Paytm. So you're in Zapak में कुछ बहुत interesting चीजें हुई, right? But let's zoom to the Paytm thing, because we are talking about that. One is fundamentally, लोग ना बातें बहुत करते हैं about, generally जब बातें होती इस टाइप की, तो the discussion is about, oh, we launched something and we had like 1 million users and then we did this, we did that. नहीं, वो आप थोड़ा बताओ 0 to 100 की journey.
Yeah. So I think first of all, I owe my whatever little things that I have done in last 10-12 years, my learnings to Paytm. It was an accelerated learning for me, right? Whatever I learned 10 years previous to Paytm, it all got accelerated in 2 years. First 2 years at Paytm, where working next to Vijay. Vijay, we all know how passionate and enthusiastic he is about things that he wants to build. So even I used to question, what is this? Why is mobile recharge so big? He was very clear that mobile recharge, that is the lowest common denominator. I want people to experience what digital payments are. And that's one product I don't need to sell hard. The product I'm trying to sell hard is the digital payment experience. Recharge is just a layer on top. Recharge is just a wrapper, so that people know that, okay, they're getting this product, but they're actually experiencing how a digital payment works, because he understood that people will eventually pay digitally for everything. But that journey is going to be very long. I still remember in 2011, one meeting, he was saying in 2030, literally all Indians would be paying digitally. I mean, that at that point in time sounded like illogical, but that, how it is possible, because there's no concept of digital payment. There used to be payment gateway, credit card existed, but less than a billion people would actually be, paying online.
नहीं होता था डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शंस, और वो भी मतलब कोई ट्रस्ट नहीं करता था, घर पे आ जाओ पैसे ले जाओ.
Correct, right? So he was very clear that he's actually building this digital payments layer, and then products will be built on top. And for 2 years,
सारे विजनरीज ना स्टार्टिंग में लगते हैं कि भाई पी कर आए हैं,
right?
Correct.
वो बाद में in hindsight you realize that yes, what he meant was that people should first start to understand there will be a world which will exist in their phones, which is primarily their apps. MWeb, तब तो MWeb था, app नहीं थी. And we will feel comfortable buying products virtually, not just physical product, because e-commerce used to be, India उस time Flipkart start हो चुका था. Flipkart बाद में हुआ था. India Plaza था, Rediff था. Online shopping site that while people are trying physical products online, they'll also try virtual products, right? Because gaming used to be the only virtual product that was sold back then, but that too, not in India, right? The games that we built, we used to go via telecom operators. Again, not many people would know how games were distributed back then. There's no app store, there's no mobile web.
Correct.
Go to their telco's website and then download games from there. Right? So there's no payment. उनके जो mobile balance होता था उससे पैसे कट जाते थे, right? So that was the only form of digital payment available then. But that was an insanely expensive digital payment, because if you have 100 rupee balance in your phone and you have to download a game worth 20 rupees, as a game manufacturer or game producer, I would get 5 rupees, right? Telco would keep everything, right? So there was no incentive for me to actually keep building games for them. Having said that, that was the only way to distribute, right? So we said, I'm going to solve this problem, that, that seamless payment eventually at some point in time will become the product. Rest all, we'll keep experimenting. Humne then launched bus tickets and so on and so forth, and kept adding categories. But his vision was very clear that all these categories are going to bring in the first point that I made, that India has 300-400 million people who have different kind of problems. Some want to book movie tickets online, some want to do recharge online, some want to pay their gas bill. All of them will eventually discover a platform where they can find what they want to do, right? Find
everything under one roof. Super app.
Yeah, but that was a slow journey. Now Paytm may look like it grew very fast, but first 3-4 years, every category took 1 year to even get the traction that we were expecting, right? So that is where I think I started learning that 0 to 1 is insanely hard, because once it became 1, we knew all the bells and whistles, Google ads, Facebook ads, cashback, that, but 0 to 1 was where people were questioning, but why should I book my gas cylinder on Paytm? Why should I?
On Paytm, correct.
Why should I buy a bus ticket on Paytm? I can go to the shop, I can call someone, I can get to the bus stop and then board the bus.
Buy a ticket.
Why are we even what is so the definition of 0 to 1 that time was different, right? Convincing people that this product can also work the same way it works offline.
Correct.
Today that problem is not there. Today the definition of 0 to 1 has changed. Today people know that anything can happen online. In fact, anything that we think of first, we said, let me first try it online.
Correct.
Back then it was, let me first try offline. I've tried, few very smart people say, okay, let me try it online, right? But today the 0 to 1 is, because there's so much noise, everything is online. People are, there's so many ads, Facebook, Google, everyone's trying to sell you something. How to really get the kind of customers who would come to you and then continue using your services, right?
Correct.
Most startups fail because they are unable to retain customers. Because distraction बहुत है इसमें. ठीक है, startup, the product also has a role to play, but unless your product is insanely good, people have choices for every product.
Benchmarks बहुत बढ़ गए.
But during Paytm days, one thing that which I used to say, that since the population is very small, internet population used to be less than maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 million when Paytm started.
Correct.
Nobody, Android was non-existent. It came much later.
Correct.
He said, we have to ensure that these people do 3 or 4 transactions a month. That is the only way we can survive. Otherwise, if any which way the transaction size was 20, 30 rupees, the idea was not to make money, by the way. That even if they 3, 4 times, in recharges you cannot make money. Idea was they should form a habit. That next time, even if they are standing at a shop which is selling a recharge voucher, the paper voucher, they said, जाके आराम से मोबाइल पे 2 बजे कर लूंगा, सुबह कर लूंगा, right? And I can also, one thing that that existed back then, that recharge used to have hundreds of plans. You never know which plan to take. SMS plan, data plan, talk time में this plan, that plan, night plan, STD plan, all those. Try to make that easier. Yeah, based on your usage, I'll be able to tell you, right? So getting into the nuances of what customers want, which segment to target, and how to form a habit. Because
इसको थोड़ा zoom in करते हैं कि what. So when you say that 0 to 1 journey, right? So abhi, let's just pick up one of these examples that you're talking about, right? You were there with Paytm right from the beginning, right? जब Paytm पैदा हो रहा था, correct? 197 में थे, and then वहाँ से Paytm निकला, right? तो the question is, so Vijay Shekhar Sharma thought कि चलो यार ऐसा रिचार्ज वाला बनाते हैं, बाकी लोग भी रिचार्ज कर रहे हैं, हम भी रिचार्ज करेंगे लेकिन बेटर करेंगे. Sorry, Deepak, your video is stuck. So I think it'll be great अगर आप in couple of minutes we can explain. Being at 197 back in 2010 roughly, when this idea of कि चलो recharge site बनाते हैं, which was the trend at that time. Free charge भी चल रहा था उस time पे, free charge पे scale वगैरह
काफी सारे 3-4 थे. हाँ,
correct. What did it take to get the first 100 customers?
I think the advantage 197 had, because they were selling vast services to telecom, they had understanding of what customer segments, how to target, where to target, when to target. So at that time, Facebook marketing didn't exist, Google marketing didn't exist.
Correct.
We didn't even know how to use it. SMS marketing used to be popular. SMS was the era when people actually used to read SMSs, right? Because there's nothing else on it, right? SMS would come, you will invariably read it. So we use that extensively. And obviously, SMS marketing, the conversion rates are very poor. Let's say if you send 100,000 SMS, maybe 1,000 actually seriously read it, and then 1 or 2 people, 3 people, 5 people will click it. So 0.05% conversion. And then they come on your MWeb or on your website, we don't even know the conversion percentage there, because the conversion percentage for Paytm back then was less than 2%. Right? For 100 visitors coming to the website. Obviously, it's now as high as 50, 55, 60%. But so now you see the funnel, right? You have to send millions of SMSs, and we soon realize that it's expensive, because SMSs used to be expensive, and that while 197 was doing SMS marketing for literally every brand in India.
Every brand,
but then we realized that for this product, while SMS marketing can get you first 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 customers, but this is not the way to acquire customers. And Paytm primarily was a desktop website, right? And web, not very popular. People never had data plans on their phones. They had, but very limited usage. So now you were very clear that now you're targeting desktop users, which are again small in number, like 500,000. These are employees mostly, because you don't have computers at home. Mostly sitting at office using computers, or cyber cafes, right, where you go and do that. Then you said, okay, this is where I think the line of marketing we should see. If we can partner with cyber cafes, and they can sell recharges. You make your cyber cafes a reseller, right? And because cyber cafes would find all whatever alternate ways they had to make extra money from the same customers walking in. So they were okay saying, okay, I will encourage people to recharge. I will put a board and I will do it for them, right? So whatever was happening on shops where they were selling paper vouchers, they started selling online, right? So
Paytm.
The end customer, they were still getting the SMS, yes, phone recharge, but it was technically happening from Paytm.com. And that's when people started discovering that, oh, there's no voucher, there's no coupon, there's a website. Maybe I can also use that website. So it started from B2B, 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 B2B to C, and then turned to B2C, where slowly word of mouth happened. And with the starting of Google ads, slowly we started experimenting. In fact, when I started doing Google ads for the first time, I said, what is this? I mean, you put up an ad and people come in. You realize that it was the cheapest form of marketing then. We used to get clicks at, you won't believe, at 10 paise. we used to acquire customer at 3 or 4 rupees. When I first ran ads on Facebook, the customer acquisition cost was 2 rupees. Because at that time they had inventory and no India traffic or no India ads. Yeah. Right? So we had the there was no competition. Right? I mean, very few people were doing that. In fact, when we launched the app in 2011, early days again for those ads, and we started running app install campaigns. App install used to cost 1 rupee, 2 rupees. Because Facebook would show millions of ads, and the impression used to cost us like 2 paisa, 3 paisa. Right? It was much cheaper than SMS marketing. Because those were
golden era tha na, golden era tha wo.
Yeah, but the advantage we had was that since there was no competition, we got 1.5 year, 2 years lead in understanding how Facebook marketing works, how Google marketing works.
Correct.
उस टाइम कोई ऐप नहीं थी, कोई फ्लिपकार्ट नहीं था, कोई और
कुछ भी नहीं था.
इंडिया में सिर्फ पेटीएम की ऐप होती थी और 2-3 और ऐप होती थी, एंड वी यूज्ड टू गेट फ्री रन. So you make mistakes, you learn, okay, ऐसे segmentation काम करता है, micro ads ऐसे काम करती है, ये ऐसे काम करता है. We learned all without worrying that, okay, we need to compete with someone, and without worrying how much traffic will come, because there were no targets. Like you're saying, we want to be on mobile. We know there are hardly any people who are using Android, hardly any people who are downloading ads, but we still want to be the first one. So there were no target. We're all, doing happy experiments. And in that, I think Paytm became the household name, because everyone who would buy Android phone or smartphone, the early smartphone, first few apps they would install is Paytm, because that was the only app available on Play Store or App Store.
Correct. So actually that brings me to this important, I think, takeaway that, like nothing is accidental, right? आपने जो सोचा उस time पे, like the whole idea of चलो Google ads करेंगे, Facebook ads करेंगे, app install, app launch करेंगे जब कोई नहीं कर रहा है, right? So being the first in the market, लोग बोलते हैं कि तुम accidentally हो गए, लेकिन there would be some thought through thing कि नहीं, it's okay to be the first one. जैसे you mentioned earlier कि जब इतनी छोटी audience है जो कि recharge भी करने वाली है, उसके लिए क्या ही business बनेगा, वो भी recharge वाले market में. Like most people will simply say कि करना ही नहीं.
Yeah, because unit economics don't make sense.
Correct. Unit economics wise, financially will not make sense. But if you have a longer vision and you are able to figure out कि मेरे उस पूरे longer vision के ये steps हैं, then perhaps you can do the kind of things that Vijay has done.
That's why I think लोग बोलते हैं, oh, Paytm had money to give cashbacks. No, Paytm wasn't insanely rich back then.
Correct.
Cashback was a smart way. So Paytm started using cash instead of cashback. They started with a referral scheme that, okay, you get me your friends. To address book, get 2 rupees, 3 rupees, and every transaction I give 1 rupee. It was plowing back this money that we are getting from recharge back into the business. Yes, Vijay was clear that, yeah, okay, I will not make money for first 3 years, but whatever money we are making from here, even if it's 10,000 rupees a month, it will go back into this company. So it felt that, yeah, Paytm is giving cashback from day one. There were no VCs who were funding cashback back then, right? And
correct.
Paytm was not like.
I think that perception comes from this thought कि companies get recognized or products get recognized only after a certain stage, jahan pe they have some cash flow cycle going on, which is why they are able to either fund by themselves or get some funding outside. Of course, there have been certain startups who were rich from day one, and so they were able to like buy customers outright. We know
that never works, by the way. That we've seen. That never works. You buy customers from day one, they will go away. Because सबको बहुत बाद जाके realize हुआ that customer acquisition is easy, retention is the toughest thing, and that is the only way your business can work if you focus on customer retention.
Correct.
But for several years, when VC funding in India was very, very booming. In fact, starting from e-commerce days, and then second version of e-commerce where Flipkart and Snapdeal and everyone started getting a lot of money.
Correct.
Focused on customer acquisition. Like everyone was like saying, acquire customers. It was like ये जो मेरी जो e-commerce के बारे में सोचेगा, they have to think about us. Very few were focusing on retention, and Paytm, since I was there, I know that yes, customer acquisition was a key, but the biggest team the Paytm had was retention. That how do you get the same customers to transact 3 or 4 times? We used to repeat that in every meeting. This customer has to come back to me 3 or 4 times in a month. Find ways. It could be ads, it could be reminders, it could be cashback, it could be anything, but you have to form habit. Otherwise, we are not building a long-term business. Yes, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, we'll continue to invest in marketing and cashback. But if customers are not repeating, he was very clear, this marketing and cashback will never recover. And now after 14 years, we see that all that is paying off, right? I mean, those customers
basically
didn't
Paytm.
Yeah.
Paytm became Paytm because of doing a lot of these things correctly. ये random fluke of it was not a monster.
फ्लूक से याद आया जब वो demonetization हुआ था, सबको लगा था वो Paytm को बैठे फायदा हो गया, right? People didn't realize जब demon हुआ था उससे 1 साल पहले Paytm के पास 8 million merchant थे, Paytm के पास 30 million customers थे, Paytm had millions of transactions going, Paytm had QR already available at so many shops. They just capitalized on that. There were other players as well, right? But Paytm capitalized on that. It was not that जिस दिन demon हुआ Paytm started doing QR. No, QR already
suddenly correct. So this actually
वो fluke था, वो fluke नहीं था. The product was put in motion about a year back, and demon was like that moment for us कि हाँ इस पे अब हम accelerate करेंगे. So instead of signing million customers a year, we'll now sign 10 million a year. So it just accelerated things for us.
So I have one point to make, and I have a question to ask. Point is, a similar discussion I had with this founder of Kagaz, which is a scanning company, scans documents. His founder is Snehanshu Gandhi. So he has been around for 13 years building like startups and बहुत कुछ किया. And cam scanner जब ban हुआ, तो उससे कागज को फायदा हो गया, right? Overnight, they had 100,000 downloads, which is insane for such a small young team. But the thing that people miss out on is that they already had the product. Product was already out. It was incidentally 2-3 weeks, 4 weeks before the ban happened. They didn't predict it, and they didn't have the access to PMO right? कि ban कर दो, है ना? ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं था. So a lot of these flukes की लोग बात करते हैं, you have to either predict the future or you have to be ready for that future that it can happen, and if that happens then yes, demonetization कोई predict नहीं कर सकता था, cam scanner ban हो जाए कोई predict नहीं कर सकता था, right? So as long as your thesis about the customers and the where the world is going, where the market is going is right, then कोई ना कोई ऐसा universe बोलेगा कि बेटा तूने बहुत मेहनत कर ली है, ये ले.
Right. Like for example, like QR, I still remember when we used to go to shops. And we tell them shopkeepers that this black looking thing you have to paste. Some customers will walk in, they will point their phone, you just give them product and they'll walk away. Shopkeepers like, पागल समझा क्या मुझे? पैसा क्या है? Right? They were like reluctant कि और वो QR फाड़ देते थे खुद ही कि नहीं मुझे नहीं करना. Right? Then we used to show them देखो SMS आ गया क्या? SMS आया ना, because they're so used to that galla with cash, हाथ में cash. So where is the, and we're talking about small shopkeepers, right? They're only used to cash. Where is the money? I mean, what if this SMS is also fake? What if this money doesn't come after, or that time, used to come after 2 days? What if this money doesn't come? How will I tally? How will I keep control of this? Right? So that training that we had to do at shopkeeper level, we have to continue to tell them, no, this works, this is how it works, and be at it, right? People don't see that. You'll see, demon happened and everyone started, Paytm.
Correct. And I do remember, I think ek aur jo, at least for maybe the top 1%, 2% of the audience, Paytm had integrated with Uber when Uber had just come in. So Uber ka one of the first digital payment method.
Only payment method.
Method actually.
Only way you could do Uber was use Paytm. Now,
Paytm.
So again, one of those, Harinder used to, who was, with us at Paytm, technically the co-founder of Paytm. So, वो बड़ा clear था that now that Paytm has reached a scale where now we need to also target, like the same thing I mentioned when we started the interview, top 1%, right? Because, they were still not actively using Paytm, and that's where Uber came in, right? Uber initially was for top 1%, and they discovered, a lot of people discovered Paytm using,
Exactly.
Right? So,
I was pleasantly surprised because India. हाँ, मैं उस टाइम पे इंडिया आया ही था वापस, वो जो मैं तुर्की के ये वापस आया था वो 500 स्टार्टअप्स करके, एंड इंडिया आके मैं लगा यार ऊपर चल रहा है इंडिया में, वेरी नाइस, पेटीएम चल रहा है इंडिया में, वेरी नाइस. So that was
I think that partnership was a strong one where Uber also benefited because we had exclusive marketing partnerships, and Paytm benefited because we got those top Uber ultra rich kind of customers, ultra rich in the context of what Paytm used to have. And that's when we were able to now launch even more categories which were catering to this 1%, right? So yeah, that was a win-win. One बहुत casually use करते हैं, but that truly was a win-win partnership.
Correct. No, I think good 2 साल का रन था वहाँ पे, right? जब कोई और प्लेयर था ही नहीं Uber के पास. 2 साल I think good 2013 से लेकर 15 तक I think ऐसे चला था. Okay, so my question was कि demonetization हो गया, ठीक है? आप लोग को किसी को आइडिया नहीं कि demonetization होने वाला है, right? हो गया रात को 8 बजे, right? माहौल क्या था?
Okay, so the interesting part is 8 बजे सबको पता चला. Till 7 a.m. next day, we didn't know what has hit us. We went home 9 o'clock. सुन के हम generally typically we used to leave by 9. And I remember we was not in office that day. He was in Bombay or somewhere. And we had a call that something like this has happened. We're still trying to understand what demonetization is. That word itself,
Yeah.
figure out and what exactly will happen. So we tried to figure out कि इससे क्या होगा. But by the time we could figure out, we saw that Paytm servers are crashing. There's a lot of traffic. People are trying to figure out how to get payment, send payment without cash. How can they survive? Because news started carrying that there'll be no cash, and there are certain apps which you can use for people who have mobile phones, people who have internet. And by 9 a.m. next day, the entire team was in office, and we were like struggling to first ensure that our servers do not crash. Because with 20x traffic, you are prepared for 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x, you're not prepared for 20x. Now that was problem number 1, obviously mostly an engineering problem to solve. The problem number 2 was the kind of customers that Paytm started getting then. They were new to technology, they were new to smartphones, they were new to digital payment, they were new to Paytm. Now to handhold them, make your app, because over a period of time, Paytm had become little complex, but it evolved slowly for the user, for the customers who are already using it. So they've gotten used to it. But now suddenly you're getting a new set of customers in millions, and it's a complex product to use for them. Said, okay, how do we now simplify the product so that now these millions can use it for merchants, for your customers? And that was part 2 of the problem, that okay, let's remove everything and let's focus on 90% of what customers want. They want to make payments, they want to receive payments. Merchants want to receive, customer wants to make payment and send money to each other. So, we have to simplify the UX overnight. And the third biggest problem that happened was customer service, because things were breaking. There were people who were, not understanding how it works. मैंने पैसा भेज दिया, पहुंचा या नहीं पहुंचा.
Correct.
But to now certainly scale a customer service, and you certainly can't hire thousands of people, right? And Paytm customer service had some 300-400 people, and certainly the request was 10x of what we are getting. Now you can't have 3,000 people overnight, right?
Correct.
Now, how do you really ensure that which request is critical, where customer is getting panicky or where the genuine issue exists? How do you prioritize those problems? And that again was a tech and product problem that with same set of people, obviously you are hiring more in customer service, but
Correct,
how do
correct.
you ensure that everyone gets? Paytm had a very strict turnaround time, SLAs for customer queries to be resolved.
Okay.
How do we still maintain that SLA and solve all customers? So that was problem number 3. And then problem number 4 obviously was that once you have scaled your servers, once you have simplified the product, once you solve the customer service, now even when the cash is back, how do you really now keep these people on the platform, right? I mean, it was a natural thing for people to I've got cash. And that's where I think the benefits, we had to tell people slowly, same thing, that journey that we had for 7-8 years, that now, by the way, you are here, you can not only do payments, you can do 20 other things.
1,000 other things.
You can do this, do 20 other things which are existing in Paytm. And that's where I think the lifetime value of customer concept arrived at, okay, now we have to also educate these same customers that Paytm is not just a payments app. It's actually, their entire life can be.
तो क्या ऐसा कुछ हुआ उस टाइम पे कि हफ्ते ऑफिस में जी रहे थे?
3 दिन तो नॉर्मल था, 26 से 30 आवर्स तो नॉर्मल था. You would go home, and for me, office was in Noida. I used to live in Gurgaon. So I don't even remember certain days where in the cab, how I started from Noida and reached Gurgaon, पता ही नहीं चला. तो ड्राइवर बोलता, सर घर आया, यही है ना आपका घर. So सबके होते थे 4-5-6 घंटे में वापस ऑफिस. But I think because everyone was just enjoying it, because we were like, boss,
once in a lifetime
opportunity, because this will go into our career learning as well, right? The pace that we are building, the kind of customers we are building for, we'll now learn a lot more about India, Indian needs, Indian customer needs, right? So all the people who worked at Paytm during that time, they actually got front seat of what India wants.
Exactly. मतलब ये once in a life.
1% India behave, cred like का customer कैसे behave करता है और एकदम bottom blue collar वाला कैसे behave करता है,
वो कैसे behave करता है.
Paytm use कर रहे थे. So we had that that view that okay, this segment behaves differently, and all of them were using the same app, right? And that the kind of data and analytics that we used to look at, and it's like, wow, I mean, this is something that we'll keep for life, because to truly understand how people engage with technology, women, men, kids, different age group, different.
I totally agree. I mean, जो चीज every entrepreneur, I think, dreams कि ऐसा कुछ है, मुझे एक मौका लग जाए जहाँ पे मेरे प्रोडक्ट की इतनी डिमांड हो कि मुझे समझ में ना आए मैं क्या करूँ, right? And I'm okay like surviving on Red Bull for the next 10 days.
हाँ, वो बड़े क्लियर था कि बॉस ये obviously Vijay was like literally he was very clear that this is going to transform Paytm, take it to a different trajectory.
Orbit
so
altogether.
I need your support, right? I mean, he rallied the troops like how? He said for next 6 months, we are building for India. India की बहुत बड़ी problem solve कर रहे हैं. And everyone aligned with that mission. I think वो बहुत important. और जो नहीं कर पाया, obviously, people left at that time. The pressure was too much. But वो हमको तो
मतलब 6-7 साल का जो मेहनत थी, जो 6-7 साल की मेहनत थी, वो उस overnight success, so-called overnight success के लिए थी.
Correct.
Right. Which takes me to the last kind of the second last segment, talking about IndiaGold, and you're well known in the startup ecosystem for your take on taxes, your take on money matters, and your take is not your typical the general influencers ka take. Your take is much more grounded because it is coming from this experience. It is not coming from a very high level idea. Plus, I clearly your understanding of retention is baked in because 10 साल वही किया है. Literally 10 साल वही किया है. Retention more than acquisition. कि acquisition का क्या ज्ञान देने वाले बहुत लोग बताते हैं.
In fact, because of this, at IndiaGold, we have 75% retention. Now, saying we focus so much on retention, dude. The 75% is also not good. You getting 75% business from repeat customers, while fantastic that we have to work less hard to acquire new customers. but that percentage should also not be this insanely high. You also need to acquire new customers, right? So
new customers
to maintain a balance, right? I mean, new customers will come in and they will retain. Then imagine the scale of the business.
So I want you to touch upon two things now. One is IndiaGold, for also context. What exactly are you doing? Why did you start this, etc.? And what is the core problem? What is that problem that you're trying to solve? That's one. And the second is, can you deep dive into retention? Because जो जनता सुन रही है हमें उनको शायद retention as a word का मतलब पता है, लेकिन उनको technically नहीं पता, mathematically नहीं पता है कि ये retention होता क्या चीज है, and Paytm के context में कैसे play किया और IndiaGold के context में कैसे play.
ठीक है. So I start with IndiaGold journey. So 3 years back when I quit Paytm, it was like यार अभी ना थोड़ा FOMO ही था, startup करते हैं, right? कुछ तो बनाते हैं, because Vijay used to inspire all of us that how India still has so many problems to be solved, and India has credit needs to be solved, and others within fintech and financial services, that's the only thing that we knew. If there's so many problems that exist, and obviously within Paytm also has their vision clear that this is what they want to do for next 10 years. But let's say if you feel that there are a few more problems, exciting one sitting outside which you can solve, let's try it out, right? And obviously Vijay always used to encourage people doing their own thing. So 3 years back we took a call that let's do something, and that's when I started studying. So I didn't exit Paytm with clear idea in mind that what I want to do. The idea was that in financial services, in fintech space, see if there's any verticalization possible, if there's any other segment that we can really focus on and go deep into it. And the obvious problem that came out was that India's hunger for credit, that we knew that will continue to grow. It was pretty big back then, and we knew that it will be much bigger around the line, because
hunger for credit मतलब कि hunger for credit means loan लेने का, right?
चाहे वो बिजनेस के लिए चाहिए, चाहे आपको कार के लिए चाहिए, आपको घर के लिए चाहिए, चाहे आपको शादी के लिए चाहिए, चाहे आपको वर्किंग कैपिटल के लिए चाहिए, आपको पैसे सब. एक तो ये मिसनोमर है, लोग बोलते हैं कि इफ यू आर रिच यू डोंट नीड लोन, राइट? सबको लोन चाहिए, राइट? आपको अगर किसी कोई रिच है 5 करोड़ का घर खरीदना है, उसका वो भी लोन ही है ना. कार मर्सिडीज खरीदनी है, वो लोन लेता है, वही लोन है. सो अंबानी ने भी डेट उठाया हुआ है ना, वो भी लोन है, राइट? सबको क्रेडिट चाहिए, बिकॉज क्रेडिट इज व्हाट ड्राइव्स द इकोनॉमी, राइट? बिकॉज if let's say you have 100 rupee to spend of your own, and if you get 200 from outside, now you can grow your business 3x because you have money to spend on it, right? And that's how the GDP grows. So we knew that the credit hunger for this, and when you look at the market, India 1.2 billion, whatever, 120 crore population, 10 million, 450 million people who would barely be eligible for some form of credit, and 200 million people have decent credit score to get credit from formal institutions. So that still leaves out 300 to 400 million people who didn't have access to credit from formal. India mein informal is a huge, unorganized, a huge market, right? I mean, just 2x the size of
for the benefit of everyone, formal क्या है, informal क्या है?
So banks, आप बैंक के पास जब लोन जाते हो लेने, या NBFCs के पास लोन लेने जाते हो, that is organized formal, because they have processes, they are regulated, BI regulates them. And then there are money lenders unofficially. It could be a shop in a village. It could be a small lender who's giving money at insanely high rate of interest with just basic paperwork, right? I mean, obviously the lender also is taking the risk, because they are literally giving it either on relationship or through word of some reference, or with some basic collateral, right? So they used to charge insanely high. Now the irony of India is, poorer you are, the higher ROI you pay. Right? So poor people end up paying 50-60% rate of interest, maybe even 100% rate of interest. And it hits them even harder because they are not even able to pay the principal interest, forget principal, right? So that is the biggest problem today India has, that if you are lower down in the value chain, and obviously you don't have enough avenues to build your credit score, your income is also irregular. Very few in India have regular incomes. Because you're all India is mostly self-employed, right? And that too, self-employed non-professionals,
Correct.
Income is not regular, right? And then, based on that, they'll hardly get credit from banks or, big NBFCs.
Correct.
And if they have to expand business or they have some family needs, they'll end up paying, insanely a high amount of rate of interest. And this is where I think in last 5 years, startups have tried to solve, right? And if you see all the lending startups, they started focusing on this segment because top को तो मिल जाएगा बैंक से, आपको मेरे को आराम से बैंक से लोन मिल जाएगा. इनफैक्ट हमें तो पुश करते हैं बैंक, we keep getting
ले लो
लोन ले लो, while everyone gets it, but approval rate is very high in our segment, right? Approval rate is lower and also the higher rate of interest. So when you're looking at the credit market and see, okay, credit also is in two forms, secured and unsecured. Now, what is secured and unsecured? Unsecured is I go to bank and bank says, okay, give me your income statement, give me your ITR, give me your basic documents, and I'll look at your bank account, and I'll give you 1 lakh rupee loan. That's unsecured. Tomorrow, if I decide not to pay that loan, the thing that can happen is bank can keep sending me notices. I can keep clearing those notices off, and my credit rating will go bad. Right?
Correct.
Now, that's obviously, I'm not recommending anyone to do that, because once your credit rating goes bad, it takes insanely high time to bring it back to normal levels, right? Because you never know when you need the credit again in future. It could be for emergency needs, hospitalization, anything, right? So you don't want to spoil it. But I'm saying that's how unsecured works, that if you decide, willful defaults, जिसे बोलते हैं, if you decide not to pay, bank can't do anything, right? That's unsecured. Most of India is unsecured. Business loan, personal loan, all these are unsecured. But home loan, जैसे it's secured, car loan is secured, auto loan is secured. When I say secured, there's an asset behind it. Let's say if you take a car loan and you say, I'm not going to pay my EMIs, and for 6 months, right? Bank has the right to repossess your car. Bank has the right to repossess your home, house. Bank has the right to repossess your auto or machinery loan, tractor loan. All these are secured.
कहीं पे भी basically कोई asset है जो कि आप possess कर सकते हो, तो आप वो secure हो जाए.
It happens or not is a different issue. For example, in two-wheeler loan, it's called secured, but it's impossible to repossess two-wheeler. First of all, the value of two-wheeler is anyways, negligible. But I'm just saying, at least there's an asset behind it. So that's called secured. When it's not backed by anything, it's only backed by credit rating or credit data or underwriting engine that institutions have built, that I feel this person will pay. This person has willingness, intent to pay, and the capability to pay. As long as your engine predicts, you give loan, and that's where I think better the technology, better the underwriting, you're lower the NPAs. NPAs is non-performing assets, with the percent of people who will not pay. If you're very loose with it, anyone who comes to your app and saying, oh, my credit score, for example, is 700. 700 is a decent score, right? You say, oh, the only check I will have is 700. You will fail, because that's not the way lending works. So we can have a separate session on that. But coming back to IndiaGold, we said, okay, secured, unsecured, we feel that market is already so big. There's hundreds and thousands of players. We couldn't think of any differentiator. We couldn't think of any unique product there. And in secured also, we looked at all the assets that people have, and then said, okay, there are only two assets that are really huge. One is obviously home, the value of home people own, and home loan is already a huge category. The second asset that Indians have is gold.
Correct.
And then there were a lot of NBFCs, traditional NBFCs, banks who used to give gold loans. But then one thing that stood out, that most of the time secured asset is low rate of interest, because it is backed by an asset. Right? Home loan is 9%, 8.5%. There were times when it used to be at 7% as well. Most secured loans are. But traditional NBFCs are giving gold loans at 24%, 23%, which is higher than the personal loan, that unsecured loan that you would take. And we're saying there's some problem here, right? How can a secured asset, that to a gold, by the way, the only asset-backed loan, where lender has the possession of the asset on day one. Like in home, in car, in machinery, in tractor, in auto, asset is with the customer. You have to possess it.
Correct.
Customer
you have to put in the effort.
Gold is like 100% secured, because you keep the asset first and then give the money. Now imagine,
then you give the money.
Even then customer has to pay high rate of interest, right? So obviously जब startup कर रहे हो तो आपको startup की quotes बड़ी पसंद लगती है ना. जेफ बेजोस की वो quote है ना, that your margin is my business, right? Said,
correct, business.
Kind of margins they're making, it's first of all insanely high, and it's predatory. It's not something that should be in this category where your loan is 100% secure, because even if NPA happens, RBI has a mandate that you can only give 75% LTV, loan to value, which means if the gold is for 100 rupees, as per RBI regulation, I can only give 75 rupees. Which means even if customer defaults, you sell the gold and you will recover 100 rupees.
फिर भी पैसे बच जाएंगे.
Let's say even gold prices go down, right? So you will always more. So we said, okay, let's see if we can, you know, build a product around it. But then the second challenge came, distribution. That all these NBFCs and banks have branches. People walk, take their gold, and you know they get the loan. So, I mean, as a startup, if I start opening branches, it'll take me, you know, several years to even cover Delhi to get India.
Correct.
Right? Okay, you know, the first principle thinking, basic tenet that, okay, what has internet taught us? What has internet given us in India? It's given us one thing, convenience. खाना घर आता है, आपका डॉक्टर घर आता है, टेस्ट घर हो जाते हैं, सब कुछ इंटरनेट ने आपका लाइफ को कन्वीनियंट कर दिया है.
करेक्ट.
एंड कन्वीनियंस इज हैबिट फॉर्मिंग, वी ऑल नो, राइट?
या.
नाउ हाउ डू आई मैरी Zomato to Muthoot? Where I said, okay, instead of me opening restaurants, me opening branches, I will go to customer's house. कस्टमर के घर पे बैठे लोन देंगे, कस्टमर के ऑफिस में, बिजनेस में, दुकान में, जहां पर भी वो है. And this is how I will, you know, manage my distribution. And that's when we said, okay, we'll do doorstep, we'll do gold loans, and I'll cater to the same set of customers these NBFC banks, NBFCs go to. But I will, you know, obviously, I'm not saying I will discount the ROI. I'll still make a healthy business, but you know, the insane margin that they have, we'll see if we can build a business around it.
We'll build a healthy, मतलब दोनों साइड के लिए अच्छा होना चाहिए.
And another thing, we're very clear that since, and I think I started before you started recording, that this is it for me, right? Personally. So if I have to build this for the next 30 years, God, मतलब अगर मेरी रही इतनी age, then I have to build it in a way where business is self-sustainable from year 2, year 3. We don't have this, you know, insanely VC funding coming in every year and saying, okay, you know, keep
ये करो, लेके जाओ इतने लोगों को.
At some point in time, we'll figure out what to do. We said, no, we have to make sure that if you're building this as an institution for the next 30 years, fundamentals have to be right. And that was the basic principle behind it.
इसमें, okay, so इसमें retention का क्या game हुआ? एक तो ये question है. दूसरा question ये है कि if you can quickly touch upon, बोलना बहुत आसान है कि यार लोगों को भेज देंगे घर पे, गोल्ड लाके ले आएंगे. मतलब you're talking about gold here.
Very tough category. Very tough category. Because, okay, unsecured और secured में एक और फर्क होता है. Unsecured में lender has to trust the borrower. बॉस ये देगा कि नहीं देगा, right? तो मुझे शक्ल पसंद नहीं है या मुझे तुम्हारा घर पसंद नहीं है, ये देगा कि नहीं देगा. But secured में, gold loan में, the borrower has to trust the lender. Dude, my gold is with this guy. Correct. What if they run away? What if they are a fly-by-night operator? What if, you know, they, you know, don't give my gold? Right? So here the trust is ulta. So we have to make sure that when we go to customers or when we pitch, when we market, how we appear, you know, we should appear trustworthy. Customer को confidence है कि yes, these guys are not after my gold. It's a legitimate business. You know, they are here for my good. They are giving me good value for money. They are being very transparent with every terms and condition. There's nothing here. जो भी है वो सामने है. सामने की fact statement है. So he said we have to build trust in that slow manner where, because I can't spend 100 crores on IPL and say, oh, IndiaGold, because we don't have that kind of money at first place. But even if we had, you know, that is not the way to build trust. That is a short-term burst, right? To build trust, you have to get customers to start using a service and feel that they made the right choice. Correct. And also tell their family members and other customers that, yeah, I took loan from here.
They want to feel smart.
Yeah, they want to
feel front of everybody.
And they say, dude, you know what? And I'm talking about most businessmen that we focus on, that I should take 18% loan from bank and I have to pay every month principal plus interest. Here I'm taking IndiaGold much lesser. I'm only paying interest. I'm not even paying principal because that's how the
correct.
And you know, they come to your home, and when you want one piece of jewelry back, they'll deliver it back to you, right? And I've tried the service, right? So, and there are no hidden charges. When you want to close, you can close. When you want to, you know, reapply, you can reapply. If there's any fee, it is very, very upfront. Every month, there's no surprise that, you know, the rate of interest is different. So that way, I think
correct.
who slowly came to us, they realized that this is the product which is much simpler than what they believe it was, and that's where tension comes in, because like I said, the credit need never goes away. So once you've taken gold loan, chances are, and we've seen that with all the customers that we've catered so far, they will never go back to unsecured, because unsecured has high rate of interest.
Correct.
Unsecured has a different way of EMI. So they have a EMI concept we have to pay every month. They say gold loan, तो बहुत अच्छा product है. I have to only pay interest. I have to pay principal when my payment comes. Let's say most businessmen, their payment comes after 90 days. So they can pay in some in 90 days a bullet loan. So you say, yeah, this is an easier loan for me, for most businessmen. So you say, next time when I have to take credit, I will take gold loan only. Obviously, we have competition. They might go to my competitor for a different rate of interest. But we converted them from unsecured to secure, because the product is much simpler. And it's
so basically एक तो फाइट है कि I mean दो तरह के फाइट है, राइट? यहाँ पे एक है कि मुझे कॉम्पिटिटर से अपना बिजनेस निकालना है, और दूसरा है कि मुझे अनसिक्योर्ड से सिक्योर्ड में कन्वर्ट करना है, which I think is a much bigger pie.
Bigger fight is acquisition. हमारा उल्टा है. By the way, when I whatever businesses I worked in, retention used to be a bigger fight, where customers would say कि ठीक है मैंने यूज कर लिया, मैं जा रहा हूँ. यहाँ पे once they are in, the retention is high. I said 95%. Acquiring them was difficult. What is this gold loan? I don't understand. I don't want to give my jewelry. Gold loan in India has a stigma attached to it. Right? Correct. People think that they failed in life, that they have to give their family jewelry.
सोना गिरवी रखना पड़ेगा.
Bollywood ने stigmatize किया हुआ ना उसको. So that changing that thing, and that's why we played smart there. Said, okay, if I go and tell people that no, it's not like that, it's for your benefit, it's gonna be difficult. I am not gonna spend crores on marketing. I don't have crores on marketing. Said, okay, let's pick a segment where this selling is easier. So with gold loan, we started selling to businessmen, proprietors, small factories, small self-employed non-professional people who would use it as a working capital. So it was business loan kind of pitch, but backed. So there, the stigma was much lesser, because they were looking at it practically. They were looking at it mathematically. That okay, I'm getting loan at X% from bank, X% from India. It's much cheaper.
Correct.
Or it's much
cheaper. Correct.
The terms are much transparent. So there the stigma goes away when maths comes into the picture.
Correct. And I think वो बैंक जाके वो सारा काम करना, दुकान बंद करनी पड़ेगी मुझे.
यहाँ पे zero paperwork, nothing, everything happens like digitally, and you can pay your EMI through multiple modes, through apps, self-service, customer service, all that.
So I've spoken to a bunch of other founders as well, जो कि SMEs इस टाइप के ऑडियंस के साथ काम करते हैं. I've seen that कि जो एक उसमें ना एक segment of users है कि early adopters होते हैं, and they usually are so smart because business बुद्धि है ना, धंधे की बुद्धि है, तो they are so smart about कि what should be used, what should not be used, and if they like it, then they are the ones who will spread it like fire.
Yes, the word of mouth for us is the second largest customer source for us. When I say second largest, like as high as 25-30%, but every month 25% of my customer comes through my existing customer base. Got it.
Retention, हमारे पास कुछ 3 मिनट और बचे हैं. Retention के बारे में mathematically किसी को explain करना है, using maybe an example from IndiaGold, an example from what is a tactical thing आप क्या करते हो?
देखो पहले तो retention, how do you calculate retention, right? Retention is कि quarter 1 में मेरे पास 100 customers थे, quarter 2 में मेरे पास 200 customers थे. बीच में जो 100 customers आए, उसमें से quarter 1 वाले जो थे वो कितने वापस आए और नए कितने आए, right? That is where how you decide the percentage, right?
ठीक है.
So that is the basic formula to calculate retention. That okay, the previous period, 30% of them came back after they completed the product. Like in lending, the retention starts once the customer has completed the tenure, right?
Achha.
Unlike recharge, which is a one-time activity, lending is like 6 months the customer is with me. I don't count that as the customer is with me for 6 months. वो तो nature of the product है. Let's say the loan has closed. They've gone back. उसके बाद वो वापस आते हैं. So previous period.
तो आप शुरू कब करते हो? जब लोन पहली बार लिया था या जब लोन क्लोज किया था? वहां से
जब लोन क्लोज किया उसके बाद for me that customer whenever they come back is called as retention. First is not called as first is because you have to understand my customer acquisition cost is for the first time. That's where I spend the highest. I in fact pay out of my pocket, which means if I'm making 5,000 rupees from a loan, I may end up spending 3,000-4,000 rupees to acquire a customer, hoping it's a hope that if this customer comes back again, I will recover the customer acquisition.
I'll recover on it. Got it.
Most businesses are like that. Very few businesses where margins are insanely high, where in the first phase itself you make huge profits, right?
Correct.
Sabko wahi cheez, fortunately, but sabko it's not easy to run those products because those are the products where there's hardly any innovation. Right? I can look at any physical product where they have 60% margin. They just need to find more and more ways to distribute. But हमारे case में था that since like I said, our doorstep है, हमारा branches नहीं है, these customers have to keep coming back to us. So the moment their loan ends, you after 15 days, 30 days, 60 days, you have to predict because you know their behavior कि वो किस business में है, उनकी next payment cycle, next when they festival is coming, when they're gonna buy more material. Keep predicting that. You have to stay in touch with them. You have to make sure they keep using your app. They at least don't delete your app, and then target them at the right time. Then the customer acquisition cost goes down by 90% when the same customer comes back because the conversion is much higher. Let's say if I'm showing my ad to people who already use my product, conversion is as high as 70%, right? So I'm actually spending less on CAC, right? So the customer acquisition cost. So that is why I think that the whole retention is important because it lowers my cost over time, and then this concept of lifetime value.
Did you build this ML algos to predict कि when a customer of yours might require a loan again? ऐसा कुछ algo बनाया या फिर relationship पे चलता है?
It's all built into your campaign management system, right? Campaign management में, so based on the customer profile, we know there are customers who do back to back, which means the loan has ended. And they say, oh, I want to continue my loan. So which means they close the loan and immediately start another one. There you have to predict that these are the kind of customers who would do back to back. So you have to now target them. Let's say the loan is for 6 months, 5th month itself, right?
Correct.
That how do I ensure that this customer stays with me because I predict that this customer wants loan for another 6 months or for a 12 months. Let's say the usage of that loan, I'm just saying hypothetically, the usage of that loan was for buying a machinery. You know that when someone takes a loan for buying a machinery, the return starts coming after 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years.
Correct.
They won't need loan for a longer time. But someone is buying for raw material, their payment cycle is 90 days. You know that, okay, this person in a year 3 times buys raw material, and that is the time I need this lump sum cash. So you target months. So all that is already built into a campaign management system.
Understood. So such an Indian problem to solve, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. You have that unique understanding of the segment that you want to target. Because technically, like Muthoot or Manappuram, which are large NBFCs, they cater to everyone, right? They have shops people walk in. But for us, you have to be very specific that yes, TAM, like I said, there are 400 million households who have, or 300 million households who
gold
have
and this.
25,000 tons of gold. Everyone has gold. I can't go after everyone. I don't have the kind of
specific slice.
So I had to say, okay, within gold loan, let me pick my category because let me understand them first, and then once I understand, I'll pick another category, build algos around them, how to target them, how to retain them, and then keep expanding so that I stay in gold loan, but within gold loan also figure out what I want to target.
The right hyper segment like that. So on that note, I think Paytm के case में भी same ही कहानी होगी, right? Of figuring out कि कौन से customers
यही कहानी होती है in a different shape and manner. सब जगह यही कहानी होती है. All big businesses are
patterns अलग हैं.
10-12 years का journey होता है, and you keep discovering that what works for your customers.
What works, right?
Then keep expanding.
So, I mean, I wish we had more time. I seriously wish because there's so much to unpack at the moment. And again, we are limited by time, so we will pause here. Hopefully to meet again in a few weeks and a few months, depending on how people ask questions. I have one request and one question, which is one, are you hiring? If yes, what are you hiring for? Number one. Number two, what should people who are looking to join you, work with you, etc., what do you look for as a recruiter? Number two.
So, हमारी कंपनी का एक रूल है. एक टैगलाइन है when we hire people, 0% entitlement, 100% ownership. We just want you to own what you do. Right, wrong, स्लो करोगे, फास्ट करोगे, आई ओन इट, और मैंने उसको बोल दिया था, हाँ मैंने ये बात कर लूंगा, अच्छा मैं बात करता हूँ. If something is fine to you, you own it. So that's why we don't have, multiple people working on the same product or same problem. It's your baby, end to end. It's you who do it. You are responsible for its, marketing. You work with engineering. You are responsible for customer service. You are responsible for growth. You are responsible for sharing the MIS. You don't tell this to anyone. Yes, you can take, everyone is working together. You can take each one's help. But if I ask you something, or if you're kind of working on a product, you take 100% ownership. So चाहे वो business analyst हो, चाहे वो product manager हो, चाहे वो marketing हो, चाहे वो operations हो, the only thing we keep telling our employees, own what you do, completely own it, and that's the only way to do it, because
that's when you will help the company, that's when you will help yourself as a building your career.
Yeah.
तो होगा ही, है ना?
And
what are you
hiring for product managers, hiring for business analysts, hiring for very smart operations people who understand, because in India, no businesses can be run completely online. There has to be an offline component, right? For us, the offline component is we go to customer's house. So there are a lot of massive operations involved, right? There's a full suite of technology which takes care of people who are on street carrying gold, or storing gold rightly. There's an audit happening. There's a proper onboarding.
Correct.
So the entire operations which happens offline, so we need good people who can manage that. So these are the kind of openings we have.
Any of these openings are for freshers, or people who are just like 1 or 2 years experience?
For business analysts, I call it business analysts. These are people who are just curious, who are smart, who are good with numbers. We believe they can, if they want to start their career as a business analyst, as long as they are good with data, curious, and they have a general knowledge of how businesses work, I think we'll be very happy to talk to them.
Awesome. Yeah. And any parting remark in terms of career planning, etc. For this जनता जो अभी recently graduate हुई है, COVID देखा है, ये सब किया है, थोड़ा सा अलग mindset में है. So what's your
I think वो don't run after the next shining thing. I mean, जिस चीज में आप हो, go deep. The good part today is that there's a lot of learning available in every subject.
Correct. Yeah.
So if you enter a particular domain, just go deep into that, do it for 2 years, 3 years, and see if it doesn't work for you, then only shift. Right now, the trend I'm seeing, every 6 months, people are, getting attracted by new things, moving on to new things. That's good for learning. But when you're building your career, you can't build it by, switching every 6 months. You have to, even if you're, let's say, joining as a product manager, engineers who keep on job hopping for higher salary, even they also, learn much. So stay at one place, or stay in one domain, stay in one category, solve one problem, go deep into it, and then move on to the next. Otherwise, half knowledge for next 5 years, you'll not learn anything. And that 5-year experience is literally equivalent to 0.
That's an amazing advice, because ये मैंने भी बहुत ज़्यादा observe किया है, jumping इधर से उधर, उधर से इधर, and like वो goldfish वाला काम नहीं हो सकता है. You need to have.
और है बहुत unfortunately, because there's so much noise, there's so much we
distraction
get to distraction भी है, yeah, and plus वो fake stories भी आती हैं, इसने ये करा तो ऐसा हो गया, वैसा हो गया, right?
Correct.
Someone's actual story, right? How much hard work they had put in. Like we always talk about overnight success. Overnight success नाम की कोई चीज नहीं होती. That term is a most misleading term in the world, right?
Correct.
You don't know what that person went through, what that person worked on, how many years, how many months, how they practiced, how their brain works, because हम सबका brain अलग काम करता है. मैं ज़्यादा creative हूँ, मैं ज़्यादा analytical हूँ. So look at your strengths and don't compare yourself with another individual. You are unique in your own sense. Do what you feel will build your career. Stay in it for some time.
Yeah.
Generally, if you don't like it, generally if you don't like it, yes, move out of it 6 months, 8 months. But then next thing that you pick, take some time to pick the next thing and then stay in it, right? I mean, you can't do this twice is fine, thrice is fine. You can't do this for next 4 or 5 years. At some point you need to figure out what are your strengths and how are you want to marry to the opportunities that are available.
सर फिलोसफर हो गए आप, और बहुत सही बात बोली आपने, बहुत सही बात बोली. आई थिंक दिस इज समथिंग दैट पीपल शुड टेक अवे फ्रॉम दिस चैट amongst 1000 other things that was worth checking out. मैं सोच रहा था कि इसका अगर शॉर्ट्स बनाएंगे इस वीडियो के, तो ये पूरा वीडियो शॉर्ट बन. There were so many interesting talks, so many interesting threads. Thank you so much, Deepak, for taking out your
Thank
time.
you, Harinder.
Yeah,
Nice
thank you
chatting.
so much.
मजा आया.